You're watching Let the Quran Speak. Now we answer questions we've received from you, our viewers. If you have a question, visit our website, QuranSpeaks.com. Dr. Shabir, the question is, what happens to people who pray, fast, give charity, memorize Quran, and do all of their religious duties while having terrible behavior and being mean and cruel to other people? Will Allah forgive them for all the problems they've caused and people they've hurt?
So to get
that sounds like a very personal question, like as if somebody has been affected by somebody like that.
Yes, and we've seen that. We've experienced people who go through the motions. They think they have certain trappings of religiosity, but the character that should be formed in a religious person is somehow absent. So they've missed something of the spirit of what it means to memorize the Quran, to read the Quran, to offer prayer and so on, because we should imitate God, especially with God's mercy and kindness and justice and fairness and all of that. And if we are praying but we're not getting there, it's something is really lacking in the spirit of what we are doing in terms of praying and reading the Quran and even memorizing it. So if we hurt other people, this is terrible, and it is one of the worst kinds of sins we can commit, because we understand as Muslims that there are two basic rights on us. One is the right of God, and two is the right of God's creatures. So we summarize that by saying Haqqullah in the Arabic, which means the right of God, and Haqqul Ibad, the rights of God's servants, meaning God's creatures in general. And so if we sin against God, God is forgiving and merciful. He doesn't lose anything. He can forgive us, just on a whim, let's say, right? God decides, I just want to forgive you. No questions asked. He doesn't lose anything. But if we sin against God's creatures, God may not forgive us until and unless the creature forgives us. Of course, God can always compensate the creature who doesn't even want to forgive. And, we may harm somebody. We feel repentant. We are asking the person to forgive us. We're trying our best to make amends with the person. We're bending, head over heels to make things right with them. But they're so stern. They're saying, no, we're not going to forgive no matter what. Don't talk to me. Don't come to my funeral and all of that. So in a case like that, God can forgive us because we've done the best we can to make things right. And if somebody's so stern, God can compensate them for whatever they have lost and the person that we have harmed, and God can forgive us. But generally, God is not going to simply forgive us on a whim, let's say. When we have harmed his creatures, we have to make right with the creatures first. And something like this is reflected in the Gospels, where Jesus, on whom be peace, says that if you are taking your gift to the altar, but you remember that you have harmed somebody, then go and settle with your brother first, and then come back and present your gift to the altar. Because as if the gift will not be accepted until you make right with your fellow human beings. So in a similar way, we are taught as Muslims that you have to settle with human beings, make things right with them, and then ask God for his forgiveness.
So Dr. Shabir, let's say there is somebody like that who's praying and fasting and doing all those things, but as you said, there's something missing in terms of the spirit of their worship. How do they get to the stage where they embrace it all and become a better person?
I would say focus. When you're reading the Quran, read the Quran, understand its meaning, think about applying that in your lives, think about who God is and what God wants us to be. There is this idea of imitating God that is there in Christianity, it's there in Islam. We want to be like God, and God is forgiving and merciful. And God is asking us in the Quran, "Ala tuhibbuna an yaghfirallahu lakum?" Do you not wish that God should forgive you? So as much as we wish that God should forgive us, we should forgive others. As much as we wish that God would be merciful to us, we should be merciful to others. As much as we don't want God to do any injustice to us, or anyone to do any injustice to us, we should be just and merciful and kind to other people as well. So it's a matter of focus and thinking about the meaning and the reality of what we are doing and reading.
Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome. The most effective and far-reaching dawah we can do these days is on social media. That's why we're developing the Muslim Media Hub. We're harnessing the power of media to spread the message of Islam. Please support this project at QuranSpeaks.com and share in the reward from God.